One of them is a leaked audio tape with fucking Trump, so that's going to be amazing. And then we're also going to talk about $150 million cut from the police, defunded in LA. So that's really exciting as well. So let's go ahead and dive into both of those topics. And I have that reference up here for you. So this is kind of annoying. I'm just going to bring this up right now. That this video, A, highlights CNN and Fox CNN. Two, it's by Brian Tyler Cohen. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but if you've ever seen these Occupy Democrat videos, then you've definitely seen him. He's like that one annoying dude that pops up in the middle of it, like randomly, and just starts talking about random centrist bullshit. But yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in. But I'll have to skip around a little bit because of that. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Oh wait, oh my bad, it's on mute.
What happened in the state of Minnesota, they were electric stuff all over the world. They took over the police department. The police were running down the street, sirens blazing, the rest of them running. It was on camera. And then they wiped out, you probably have to build a new one, but I've never seen anything like it. And the whole world was laughing. 2 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor's, I think, by the quality, the next one dying. And all of a sudden, and I said, you got to use the National Guard to take numbers. They did it first, and they did. And I'll say that, I don't know what it was. It was the third night, fourth night. Those guys walked through that snow like it was butter. They walked right through. I mean, they know they're not going to go there. Now they'll go to some other place. But once you called out and you dominated, you took the worst place and you made it. They didn't even cover it last night because there was no election. Because you dominated. You dominated. Now, what happened to New York? I have to tell you, I live in Manhattan. What's going on in Manhattan? I have no idea. New York's finest. They got to be allowed to do this. I don't know what's happening in Manhattan, but it's terrible. And because New York, because it's Manhattan, it gets a lot of press. So they really spend a lot of time on it. But New York is going to have to toughen up. And we'll send you National Guard if you want. You have the largest police force in the country, 40,000 people, I understand. But what's going on in New York is terrible. It's terrible. All the places. What went on last night in Los Angeles with the stores and the storefronts is terrible. No domination, you have to dominate.
This is Trump on the call with the nation's governors in the aftermath of a weekend of protests.
This is what I was talking about. So let me skip around here. Okay, so this is the part where JB Pritzker, which is the governor of Illinois, kind of hits back at Trump in that same call with those governors that he had. So let's go ahead and play that part.
The call saying this.
Okay, so we're just restarting it over just because of the people that are listening. I wanted to kind of hit it back for them and give it a little of our touch. Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, so this is JB Pritzker, he's the governor of Illinois. I've been extraordinarily concerned about the rhetoric that's been used by you. It's been inflammatory, and it's not okay for that officer to choke George Floyd to death. But we have to call for calm. We have to have police reform called for. We've called out our National Guard and our state police.
Go ahead. It's going to go, but go ahead.
But the rhetoric that's coming out of the White House is making it worse. And I need to say that people are feeling real pain out there, and we've got to have national leadership in calling for calm and making sure that we're addressing the concerns of the legitimate, peaceful protesters. That will help us to bring order.
This is Trump again.
Are you going to play it or?
Yeah, let me see.
And of course, Trump's response.
And well, thank you very much, Jay. They don't like your rhetoric like either because they want coronavirus, and I don't like your rhetoric.
So that was a little choppy as well. So we'll read that off for the people that are listening. Okay, well, thank you very much, JB. I don't like your rhetoric much either, because I watched it with respect to the coronavirus, and I don't like your rhetoric much either. Basically, it's kind of saying things twice, being a little petulant child like he is. As long as his ego is intact, he's good. So this is just clear cut Trump. That's just another example of who he is. But yeah.
Well, and what JB said was spot on. I mean, that's what does Trump think? People are out there in the streets. Well, and actually the rest of the call kind of proves that this is what he thinks, is that people are just out there stealing for the heck of stealing, and that these are just criminals running the streets and the radical left's agenda, which is completely false. The majority of America feels this the way that the protesters feel. The majority of America is protesting in some way, whether it be via social media, marching in their cars, signs, something, wearing black. But anyways, not addressing this movement that's happening and what the movement is calling for is not going to stop anything.
Absolutely not. Like, if you don't even choose to acknowledge like what's going on right now, like, of course nothing's going to get better. Like,
yeah,
like that's just absolutely ridiculous to believe anything else other than that. And to focus specifically on just the looting, which is something that we're seeing out of the president, out of a lot of the conservatives, and a lot of the critics of the BLM movement and what's going on right now with the protests and the riots or whatnot. A lot of people are hating on the fact that they're destroying businesses and stuff. And at the same time, like I agree. I understand both sides of that issue, but at the same time, like, well, first I want to mention, like, I don't give a fuck about like those Walmarts. I don't give a fuck about Targets. I don't care. You can rob all the Amazon things you want. I don't give a fuck about any of the. I don't give a fuck about any of those corporations that don't pay zero in taxes and they get a killing anyways. So fuck them. But I do feel bad for those minority businesses that are
definitely
that are impacted by this. I do feel for that because they are definitely not in the same position as those like mega corporations. At the same time, there have been instances in where people have come out, like business owners, and they've been in full support. Even in the case, like there was a restaurant owner, a very like viral post went on Facebook about like some restaurant owner in Minnesota. After like the first like 2 or 3 nights, his restaurant took some damage, and he was like, let it go up in flames. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll lose it all. But those cops need to go to jail and justice needs to be served. And he was willing to like put his business on the line for that, to stand in solidarity with all those the black people. And losing his business, he wasn't even anything compared. I'm sure he was aware of the black plight as well. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. But at the same time, not everybody's in that position either, So it's kind of like, it's definitely a tough line to walk, Like it's hard to really be on one side to the other. Like for me personally, like I of course want to be on the side of like BLM and like be on the side that's right though. Like that's the side that I always want to be on, like the side of truth. So I think that's really important to kind of note in this. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is the LAPD chief talking about, including the mayor as well. They're both commenting on the cut that the mayor just announced, which was $100 to $150 million in budget cuts for the LA Police Department. And then they're going to combine that 150 million with another approximately 100 million to make 250 million. And with those funds, they're intended for those communities of color. As you can see, this was posted just earlier today. And let's go ahead and mention this quote really quick. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, on Wednesday, Garcetti, which is the mayor of LA, unveiled a $250 million in cuts to the city's proposed budgets with as yet unspecified intent to reallocate those funds to communities of color so we can invest in jobs, in education, and healing. Of that 250 million, 100 to 150 million would come from the police's annual haul of city cash. So I think that's really profound in and of itself for someone like some city, some state, like anything in any kind of way to defund their police department, I think is ballsy. I think it makes it stands for something, and it's a symbol for the rest of the nation. I think a lot of people are going to follow suit. A lot of cities are going to usually take the place first. They get the ball rolling, and then states usually come on after that when they see that it's kind of gaining traction here. But I also wanted to show you this full statement that includes the LA police chief, his full statement, which is, I believe it was Colin Moore. But yeah, his statement is right here. So let's go ahead and read it off for everybody that is listening in and watching. So this department remains committed to the 21st century policing principles that build trust and bolsters accountability and transparency. Last night, Mayor Eric Garcetti and Police Commission President Aileen Decker made a series of announcements to further support the historic strides in our commitment to community engagement, meaningful partnerships, and constitutional policing. The department looks forward to learning more about the details of the further reforms envisioned in the coming days to fulfill the Commission's vision for the future.
I like how they use the word constitutional policing, because I don't know, that phrase I think is really powerful, because it's stating that right now a lot of police departments are not constitutionally policing, which is the reason why we have this movement, right? Because Black people and people of color in general are having their constitutional rights stripped from them on a regular basis from the police.
You know, I think is really crazy that now that you mentioned that is that I just saw something in the news earlier today, or I believe it was today. Some cop, it was a female cop. I don't remember. It was some state in the South, I believe. She was seen and there was a photo of her putting her knee and having someone like that George Floyd position, like where.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. It's called the George Floyd challenge.
No, I mean like that was like a real that was a real cop with a real person in a real situation. That wasn't a George Floyd challenge.
What?
Like that was another cop. Like it was the same instance, but that girl didn't die, or the person didn't die.
Wow.
But I brought it up because they're still doing it. Like regardless of shit, they're like, someone is still out there doing it. Like this police officer is still out there doing these moves on people.
Well, and not to mention, we've seen a plethora of articles where protesters are being tear gassed. Last time I checked, that's also not legal.
Included within identified initiatives was the $100 to $150 million cut to the department's budget. The size of this budget reduction is significant, requiring a top-to-bottom assessment, including how we go about our most basic operations. The department has begun the comprehensive review to identify potential cost savings and service reductions to meet this goal. To be honest, fuck them. Just fuck them. Like they can just take it. Like I don't care what they have to do. They can scrounge for pennies. Like that's.
Well, if you think about it, why are they? Did you see up at the before this? It was saying that their budget is $1.8 billion.
I believe that was for the whole city.
Yeah. What? That's a lot.
It's LA.
Yeah, but still, 1.8, and you know what? And how we know that they don't need that much money, or how we know that they're doing dumb things with that money, is because they obviously have $150 million to give to these communities.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, wherever there's a will, there's a way. That's what I've always said with politics, and anything else but that is just a negation of the truth, and they're lying to you. But let's finish the last part, and then let's comment on that, and just wrap up the episode. So Chief Moore goes on to say, and I quote, "The reforms announced tonight are consistent with my commitment to a department that builds trust by recognizing the legacy of historical wrongs and acts that tear down any vestiges of racial injustice. Regarding the identified budgetary cut, I look forward to better understanding what steps can be taken to meet this ambitious goal. I remain steadfast in my belief that the continued funding of essential functions like our department equates to public safety. I will work closely with the mayor, the city council, the commission, and all our city's leaders to lift up our common values while serving the people of Los Angeles." End quote. Oh, and it was Michael Moore. That's the chief. Chief Michael Moore, by the way. So any last comments on that last part?
No.
Yeah, I think he sounds sincere. I feel like he is kind of just trying to like do everything he can to salvage what's left of like his department, basically. And maybe he and his department didn't do anything, but I mean, I've seen videos in the last few days since protests have been going on, and all the police departments all over the country are always committing like and doing this fucked up shit. And it's not just one place, it's everywhere, right? Like all these videos are coming out everywhere. Like police are just like pushing like people to the ground. I saw a video today where like a 10 or 11-year-old girl was pepper sprayed. What else? Like crazy shit. Like the cops with those two cops in that were mowing through that fucking crowd of people. I don't remember where that was. That could have been Chicago, New York. I don't remember which one. A lot of crazy shit. And then even cases like that semi-truck driver that drove through that crowd. I believe that was Minnesota, where that happened, in Minneapolis. And that truck driver that drove through that crowd and that very well could have killed someone got away with no charges. So that was pretty profound as well, I thought. But yeah, so no justice, no peace, guys. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I think that it's worth talking about like defunding the police for a second, because I think that that's something that's like been brought up a lot in these protests, you know? And when you look at a budget like $1.8 billion, that's a lot of money. And when you look at just what money tends to do to people, you know, I think that there's something to be said about them getting less money. Maybe they would feel a little bit less powerful. And then also, I think that what they're doing with that money, and we have seen this throughout the coming years, is the militarization of our police force. We do not need to have the armed equipment that we have in our police force. It's just completely unnecessary. These are weapons that you use when you are trying to kill a lot of people at one time, or you are in a situation like war, you know? And I just think that it's defunding the police, I think, is something that is so called for. And it's, of course, California would be the first people to do that, right? So we'll see. Hopefully more people do it.
I think that's usually what happens, and that's probably what we're going to see again, is that usually the cities kind of come in first, then the states will follow suit, and then usually there's some federal action, but there's no chance of a federal action at this time with Trump being the president. And but we'll see what happens in the 2020 election when that comes up. But yeah, I think this is a great place to wrap up. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned a lot, and we will see you on the next one. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, You name it, we got it. We even write articles, guys. If you haven't checked that out already, definitely do check us out. We have the hottest topics on there that we talk about, and it's individualized. So you get to hear our own individual voices, which I'm sure you guys will definitely enjoy. So with that, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Bye.